Is there a certain base limit for investment?
They can invest in real estate through a financial product because in real estate, timing and location is everything.
What are your top recommendations when clients come to you to diversify?
Being stuck with a dead asset doesn't mean anything from a portfolio returns angle.
High returns come with high risk.
The best way to avoid that is to not get into it.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Navigate with HSBC. NRIs are increasingly looking to invest in the real estate market back in India. We're here to make things much simpler for you. Deepak, you know how they always say high returns come with high risk. But as an advisor, Indiassetz, how do you balance, the risk on one hand and the profitability on the other? What do you do when you're advising your clients to make sure that, the risk is well covered for?
So that's a common refrain that we get, right? People expect high risk for getting high returns.
Yeah.
What we try to do is get the high returns but try and minimize the risks where we can. And that all comes from due diligence, right? Which is where our expertise lies. So when a client reaches out to Indiassetz, we first undertake an advisory call. We understand what the requirements are. Are they looking for self-use? Are they looking for investment purposes where they're expecting a return on investment? If it's self-use, obviously the advice is going to be very different based on their lifestyle, the location and future plans. So that takes one shape. If it's for investment purposes, then we start looking at giving them options, saying that commercial gives you X and residential probably gives you X minus something. And that's always the case. Because rental yields are quite low in some of the top cities because the cost of acquisition of the properties is high from a residential angle. So we go down that path. Once they've made a decision, then we start looking at options. For example, we got a live case now that's happening. We got a client who's looking to invest a certain amount of money in the country, and he's not sure whether he wants residential or commercial. So we are evaluating both options. We present options. We undertake the due diligence. We give our recommendation, of course, saying that if there's a first investment, then you go into ABC cities. If the second investment, then you probably want to diversify your risk, go to some other city, maybe look at a holiday home or those kind of options. But we undertake those due diligences. We work with the client, understand the requirement, present options. Once they have shortlisted a couple of options, then we go down the whole 9 yards in terms of legal due diligence. That's always top priority. We want to ensure that the property is not disputed. There's no legal issues that will crop up later. Once we've done that, then we go back to the client, give him those options. A lot of times, we don't want them spending their holidays in India trying to figure out, do I maintain my property? Do I want to buy a new property? We want them to enjoy their vacation. So we undertake the property visits for them, do live video calls, show them the properties. We take it to a point where they're almost ready to execute, and all they need to do is come down to India, sign. A lot of times even that is not required if they issue a power of attorney to a trusted person here. So that's how the property piece goes. There are clients who look for loans to buy those properties. Then we work with our banking partners like HSBC, where we enable mortgages, loan against properties. So there are a lot of options that they can evaluate. So it sort of becomes we are trying to contain the risks because risk comes from not knowing what you're doing, right? And here we're trying to cover exactly that because we are giving them advice based on our ground experience in terms of which markets are doing well, which is probably a good market to bet on if you're looking at a return on investment over 5-year horizon, giving those options, legal due diligence, all of that. So that's how we maximize returns, but try and we can't take away risk, but you try and contain it and minimize it as much as you can.
I'm curious, a lot of people listening to this might also have the same question as an NRI. Is there a certain base limit for investment for someone to approach Indiassetz, for instance? And what would the cost of availing services from you look like?
So, the cost for availing services, I'll just cover that first and then we'll go to the base level in terms of property value. The cost of availing services it's a very transparent pricing process that we have. When they sign up on the app, they get visibility of all the charges. When they come through HSBC being one of our premier partners, there's a differential benefit that they get. So the price is obviously a lot more attractive when they come through HSBC. So in terms of the base level pricing, typically we look at about 1 crore crore of properties is what they should be looking
the minimum
to invest in.
investment amount.
Yeah, because otherwise the cost of transacting for them and the cost of servicing
Would
those
not
would not make sense.
Okay. So a crore is the basic
minimum
that you're looking at for
and
investment.
if you look at any of the cities that they typically want to come into, that sort of, it gets easily taken care of, right?
Okay. On one hand, you have people that are looking to buy homes for the first time, but then there are others that are looking for investments. What are your top recommendations when clients come to you to diversify an already existing real estate portfolio they may have?
So what we do for clients is we also undertake a review of their existing portfolies, right? Because sometimes they're overexposed to certain segments and probably underinvested in others. Sometimes they're also looking, the other option we also have, which has come up recently, is they can invest in real estate through a financial product. We've set up Indiassetz. It's not a REIT, it's an AIF, an alternative investment fund. Okay. So Indiassetz has co-sponsored creation of a SEBI Category 2 AIF. So that's a financial product that they can come into. But if a lot of people are very picky about being invested in physical real estate. So when it comes to physical real estate, then we look at the places that are already invested in, commercial versus residential, how the existing properties have done. Do they need to exit any of those and probably reinvest the capital into other areas? Because being stuck with a dead asset doesn't mean anything from a portfolio returns angle. Hope is not a good strategy to bet on when you look at investment and return on investments in the long term. So we undertake that advice. Then the next level of diversification is around, if somebody has a plot, then that's another option that they can look at. Of course, the restrictions from an NRI angle, they can't buy agricultural land or farmhouses. But outside of that, a plot is probably a good investment to look at, because then the value of the plot and getting into joint development agreements with developers, all stuff that we can facilitate for them, means incremental and really good returns that they can look at. So that's how we balance the portfolio. In the end, ensuring that the portfolio makes sense basis their financial targets and real estate wealth management targets over a period of time. Okay,
I know you've somewhat covered this during the course of our conversation, but are there some examples you could tell us in terms of the common pitfalls that NRIs that are looking to invest in India often come across, and how you help them overcome it?
Typically, the pitfalls, the whole transaction process is so complex, right from making a decision in terms of which property to get into, what timing do you get into? Because in real estate, timing and location is everything, right? You get into a boom cycle and then you're stuck with it, and you don't get any returns for a fairly long period of time. So the pitfalls is typically making the right choice or not making the right choice, not working with professionals, because when you come to an Indiassetz kind of a company, we help you with property identification, we help you with the legal piece, we help you with the loan, all of that. You go out into the market, you probably have to deal with 5 different service providers, so this becomes easy. The second regulatory piece is a very big one, because there are restrictions in terms of fund repatriation. There are tax implications of buying properties, selling properties. For example, there was a client that we met with recently where he had sold a property and he was stuck with the money in India for 4 years because he got bad advice. He just couldn't figure out how to get the right documentation done and get the money repatriated back. And that was sort of eye-opening, because typically when we advise clients, it's a max 2 to 4 months kind of a process. Here he was stuck for 4 years. What that also led us to do was we are all now looking to set up an international wing. So we are setting up Indiassetz International, where we want to specifically address the NR clients who are residing outside India but have properties in India. So while they come to the HSBC channel, HSBC has clients there as well. So that becomes a more seamless relationship building between the two companies. So that's something that we are looking to do. From a pitfall angle, largely it is going to be around the regulatory piece, the tax piece, the legal due diligence on the properties. Property cases in India can go on for generations, right? So the best way to avoid that is to not get into it.
How do you identify fraudulent property deals? Are there some red flags right away that you should be aware of? What should one know when buying or renting a property in India? Currently, what do the rules say?